Really quick, can I ask you for a small favor? If you have not already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It's totally free and it's the second best contribution you can make to this podcast. Please subscribe so we can continue to grow this podcast and grow our community. I thank you and appreciate you so much in advance. Welcome back to Where is the Love podcast. I am so excited. We have another very special guest joining us today, Shaquida Ano. Shaquida, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure
I
to
am
be here tonight.
so glad you are here for this amazing conversation we're going to have today.
I'm
So,
excited.
before we get in, I just want to introduce today's topic and then we can go into the flow of conversation. So, today we'll be talking about generational trauma and love deficits, how upbringing affects emotional availability.
Mhm.
This topic is so powerful because so many of us deal with this in an unbeknowing way. Some
Yeah.
of us weren't raised with bad intentions, just broken examples. And now we're out here trying to love without what we never saw. Today on Where's the Love podcast, we'll be talking about those generational traumas and the love deficits that they carry with them and how or what we didn't receive in childhood affects how we show up in love today. So, we're going to start with asking our guest an opening question. And that question is, when you think about how you learned love growing up, what comes to mind?
So, for me, my unique life experience and life journey, when I think about how I grew up, I want to start with mother and father. The first thing that impacted my life, and I believe that it was a trauma, was the abandonment from a father, my biological father. I loved my father. He was in my life from birth up until maybe the age of maybe 10. But during that time, we had a close bond and we had a close relationship. When his relationship with my mom was torn and it went bad, that also caused a break with his relationship with me. So the father that I knew and the father that I loved and the father that, hugged me and kissed me and told me how beautiful I was and was always there, suddenly he was gone. And for me, that love, I wanted it. I desired it. I had experienced the love of a father. So when it was suddenly ripped away from me, that was a pain that I couldn't understand. And what that made me do is because I desired that love, I began to chase after people to get that love. I began to the first male that I ever chased was my father because I wanted that relationship. I wanted that love. And so when I could, and when I did see him, and when I did find him, I chased after him. I tried to cling to it. I tried to be perfect and to be my best to cause him to stay. And so the way I ended up learning love is that I had to chase after. I had to be perfect. I had to be worthy. I had to be beautiful at all times in order to earn love. And so that was where I learned love. I thought that it meant having to measure up, having to be perfect. I always tried to earn it. And so for me, that's how I learned love. That's what I thought love was from a young girl up until I truly learned what true love was. And that took me many years to get there. So that's father love. Mother love was a different one. Growing up in a household with a lot of siblings and with being expected to be the responsible one. Sometimes when people think that you are the responsible one, when they think that you have it all together, they put a lot of pressure on you, and therefore they don't put the same pressure on other siblings or other children in the household. I perceive that as favoritism. And so therefore I grew up in a household where I felt also with my mother that I didn't get enough love. I felt that I didn't get the sensitivity and the gentleness that others got. So for me, that also caused, I would say, a deficit in love. I felt like I had to measure up once again to earn love.
Wow, what a powerful love story. And it's powerful in the sense that you too, and that's my same semblance, experiencing wounds and father wounds in different manners and respects, but just knowing that being true for so many of us, especially us growing up in the African American community, unfortunately, where there were so many broken homes, unbeknownst to our own wanting or desire, but it just happened. And I'm not neglecting that for any other community, but for us, we know statistically that it's true that we suffered the most when it comes to broken homes, and how that festered in us as adults, and how we showed up in the world in those likings because of those things, and not even knowing that we had those wounds and traumas. So, what a powerful story, and to see the woman that you are now, and to know the love that you give to others, but coming from that is what makes it so powerful. And so we're going to flow into the follow up from this, the first question, which is, was love something you felt? And I believe you touched on this just as you mentioned with your father. Was love
Mhm.
something you felt or something you had to earn?
For me, I felt like it was something I had to earn because I started earning it at such a young age. I started chasing it at such a young age.
Mm,
So, in that time in my life, in my adolescence, my teenage years, my young adult years, I felt like I had to earn love instead of knowing that I deserved love and that I was worthy of love and that I was not hard to love. So, it also impacted me being able to accept love. I had to heal because once you've worked for something for so long, when you come into real love, it feels foreign. It feels foreign. And so, yeah, I felt like I had to earn it. Yeah.
so
And and I
true. I'm sorry, go
and
ahead.
I want to add because I don't want to get before your questioning, but when you're being raised and with people that also have not received love and
Mm,
have also had to earn love and they hadn't experienced love. And I want to say this, I don't, people love us the only way they know how. And so they thought that they were giving me love, and to them it was love. But to me, it was not because it was not what I felt I needed and it was not what I felt I desired. You know how they say the love languages, you have the love languages, right?
yes, yes.
They were loving me the way they wanted to love me. For parents, it's like if I put food on your table, if I pay the bills, if I clothe you, then that should tell you I love you. But that's
Absolutely.
not always the case with a child who may appreciate that, but you may need encouragement in the moment. You may need affirmation in the moment. You may need mommy to just sit down and tell you everything's going to be okay and I love you. You may need that love that says, I know you messed up, but I still love you. And to
Mm,
speak strength and power to you, right? That was
yeah,
what I wanted and desired as a child. I wanted a secret place, someone I can talk to and know I wasn't going to be beat for it. You know what I mean? So my mom was
absolutely.
giving me the love that she thought she was loving me her best, right?
Yes, yes.
But there was still something that I needed that I felt I was not getting.
Wow.
And that's where that deficit and that's where that love deficit comes in. She was
Yeah,
probably giving her all, a single mom, taking care of children, not just her own, but other people's children,
yeah,
struggling, making minimum wage, trying to raise a whole household in the projects in Southeast DC. She was living from struggle and survival. So she was
yes,
only doing what she knew to do. And she thought she was
absolutely.
loving the hell out of us. But at the same time, there was something that I needed. And that's why I always say that communication with your children and with anybody around you is a must because
Yeah,
you can think you're doing it all right. And to them, it's like, I need so much more. So
yeah,
communication is a must in this hour. We were afraid to communicate when we were young. I was afraid to tell my mother something like that. Now I create the space for my children to tell me. I ask, is there anything that I can do differently or better? Or I create the space because I want to know because I can't read your mind and I want you to be able to speak and tell me. And so that's what I wish I would have had when I was younger so that I can tell someone and feel safe saying and knowing that I'm not attacking you or being disrespectful, but I could feel safe saying, listen, I need this, I need that. Can you do this differently? But children and young people did not have it was do as I say and shut up when I say it and be quiet when I say it. So we're
yeah,
now dealing with the pain of that. Some of us don't even know how to communicate now because we had to shut up so much when we were young. Dare to
yes,
express yourself, and it was disrespect. And so
absolutely.
it took me years to take that muzzle off my mouth and that fear of speech.
Yeah.
Yep. Go ahead.
Wow, so true. That's really true for so many. Just think about it. That saying, what you just said, is shut up and do as I say. And I think now, especially with this term that's going around on, social media, what is it, gentle parenting or whatever it is that they're, coining, it's the effect of what you just said, just being open with your kids in a totally different space, not the space of authoritarian, but to be able to have your kids know that I'm here. You can talk to me. I'm coming to you with a gentle presence because I want you to feel comfortable to open up to me. I want you to be able to relate to me. My thing is now with my daughter, and it has been since I went through my whole process of healing and transformation, is that I want my daughter to know me in a way that I didn't know my parents. I didn't really know myself because of that, because there wasn't any true openness. And I was a child where I had to be pulled out of my shell. So if you wanted to know something, you had to pull it out of me because I wasn't just one that was willing to talk and communicate. Because one, I didn't know how. I didn't know how to communicate really, and honestly. I didn't know how to express myself or my feelings or my thoughts. And that was something that I carry as a woman, and even as a parent when I became a mom. And I had to really come to understand that that's a cycle that I need to break, because it's no way that I will want my child to carry that and grow into a young adult or an adult woman and not know how to express herself, to speak up for herself, to do any of those things, and people mismanage her and mishandle her because of that. And so I went through my process, and it was so important for me and keen for me to unlearn so many of those behaviors, because I wanted to be transparent enough for her to know my dark sides, to know some of the ugly stuff that I did, some of the stuff that I would not ever want her to do or repeat, and for her to be able to then in return feel open enough with me to express things that may be going on in her world. And it's proven it so true. As of right now, she's really open and communicative with me, and I'm so appreciative of that. And so we're going to move on, and I want to ask, how do you think our upbringing, even the parts we've moved past, like our healing journeys, still shows up in how we love people today?
So for me, I have to still remind myself. There's two things. When I think about what I experienced, I never want to repeat that with someone else. And so,
Yeah.
again, like you just said, unlearning behaviors, I have to remind myself sometimes not to do what was not beneficial for me or
Yeah.
what I did not like. So I
Yeah.
try to live by do unto others as you would have them done unto you. Do unto you. And that's kind of like my stickler. I know what hurt me in life. I know what statements hurt me in life. I know the types of things that were done that hurt me in life, and I don't want to repeat that with others. And
Yeah.
so that's how I love now, is to love differently from how I was loved. I'll never say that everything my mother did was wrong, because there were some areas where it was completely exceptional. She literally laid down her life. But there are some things that I know that should have been could have been done differently. So I watch. One of the things I do is I try to watch my language and how I speak to people. I was spoken to very harshly and very brashly as a young girl, and those words hurt. You know how they say sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will never hurt. No, I would not cry from beatings, Carissa. I could
Yeah.
get the beat down of the beat down, and I would not cry. But if you said something to me that and it prick here, I would cry for hours and hours. I would be in my room crying for hours, and my
Yeah.
mother would literally show no compassion. Right? She'd be like, take your butt upstairs and
Mhm.
cry. I don't want to hear you crying." So, and I would just sob like, "She don't love me. She don't care." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Until honestly, I've never really publicly shared this, but it pushed me even into suicidal thoughts, because there were
Wow.
feelings of feeling so unloved. And so until it was just like, I should just take myself out of this world. And this is actually my first time ever publicly saying that those thoughts were there. But as a child, I remember getting a knife and putting it to my wrist. And
Wow.
so now I'm so very cautious with my words to others. That's why my demeanor in most cases is always now very calm, very peaceful. I try to speak to everyone in a way that I would want to be spoken to, because I know what words can do. And
Yeah.
so that is one of the things what I love differently with my speech. I encourage, I try to lift people up. Now, it took me a while to get here. while I was
Yeah.
still full of anger and frustration and unhealed, I was harsh and brash with my children. My oldest son got the unhealed part of me as a parent, as a mother, when he was younger.
Yeah.
When he was 2, 3, 4, 5, I was repeating what was done to me. But when I
Mhm.
learned better, when I stepped into the understanding and the learning of Jesus Christ, when I began to learn differently and allow myself to be healed, I began to change and transform, and God began to show me those things. And so I began to change. So now I'm very careful how I speak to people. And I'm also very sensitive to people. I try to pay attention because I felt like people didn't pay attention to my pain. They were not compassionate about my pain. They were not
Yeah.
in tune with my pain, which is why I could hide it so much. But when now, like with my children, and I want to pretty much say 90% of the people that I encounter, when they are in pain, I sense it and I know it. It could be
Mhm.
just a little thing, but I'm just that sensitive and intuitive because I know all the things I've been through. It has done something in me that made me more sensitive to people. So I'm sensitive to their pain, and I try to be gentle with that and love people. And so it means a lot to me. Sometimes, yeah, it means a lot just to not repeat behaviors that
Yeah.
were done toward me, you know. And
Yeah.
again, as we have said, it wasn't intentional. They worked with what they had.
Yeah.
And when I accepted the fact that they're working with what they had, I can let it go. I can
Yeah.
let it go. They did not
Absolutely.
have the tools that we have now. They did not have the education that we have now. They did not have the access that we have now. They did not have the wit and the different things that we have now, where you started saying it. Therapy was like, you crazy if you go into therapy. Mental health, oh, you, it was not a such thing as mental health. It was either you was mentally ill, crazy, or not. You know what I mean? So
Exactly.
certain words
Exactly.
were triggers for us in the Black community. Like, they crazy. We didn't even say, we said you crazy. You know, and can I say this? We said that's that white people stuff. As if Caucasian people were the only people who deserved to take care of their mental health. Because why? We thrived off of being strong. We
Mm.
thrived off of being strong. I'm strong because that was our slavery mentality. We was
Come
strong
on.
in the cotton field. Think our ancestors always had it hard. We always had to be strong. So we needed that was a it was like a badge. But we were
Yeah.
strong and dying, slowly beat down, high blood pressure, Carissa, high cholesterol, a stressed out, overwhelmed, cancer in the body from high cortisol. We were dying early and young
Mm. Yep.
because we was being strong. Things that we have now, where you started saying it. Therapy was like, you crazy if you go into therapy. Mental health, oh, you, it was not a such thing as mental health. It was either you was mentally ill, crazy, or not. You know what I mean? So
Exactly.
certain words
Exactly.
were triggers for us in the Black community. Like, they crazy. We didn't even say, we said you crazy. You know, and can I say this? We said that's that white people stuff.
Yes.
Like as if they were the our Caucasian people were the only people who deserved to take care of their mental health. Because why? We thrived off of being strong. We
Mm.
thrived off of being strong. I'm strong because that was our slavery mentality. We was
Come
strong
on.
in the cotton field, picking cow. Ancestors always had it hard. We always had to be strong. So we needed that was a it was like a badge. But we were
Yes.
strong and dying, slowly beat down, high blood pressure, Carissa, high cholesterol, stressed out, overwhelmed, cancer in the body from high cortisol. We were dying early and young
Mm. Yep.
because we was being strong. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, there we are.
Wow, that's powerful. That you touch right on it. And next week we dive into more of that. So I'm glad you mentioned that because that is so
Okay.
true, especially for Black women. Black women,
Mhm,
we couldn't cry.
mhm,
Seek therapy? What? What's wrong with
mhm,
you?
mhm.
Like it
Yeah,
was it's the stigmas
it's
and
that's it.
even the trauma that the stigmas, put on us or marked us with is like, wow, just like you said, I don't deserve to take care of myself. That's self-love. That's the internal.
Yes,
When you can love yourself
yes,
enough to know I need help. I need help. I'm loving
yeah,
myself enough to know and to open my mouth and ask. So
yeah,
if you are, and especially Black women, if you need it, go get yourself some therapy. Listen, get it. It will
yeah,
save your life because it saved mine. And I'm sure Shaquita had the same testimony. It saves
yeah,
your life because if you're not mentally fit, what good are you for anyone around you? You're not. You're really not.
Yeah.
So, moving right along into the root of generational trauma, I want to
Yeah.
start off by asking generational trauma, what does it really mean to you?
For me, it's repeated behaviors. Repeated behaviors from generation to generation. Cycles of the same thing. Teaching, it's environmental learning.
Mm,
So I get this trauma, this thing happens, and I repeat it with the next generation. And then the next generation, they repeat it. So it's a never ending cycle until somebody wakes up and says that the buck stops here. Till somebody wakes up and decides to break the mold of what generations have always done. And oftentimes it starts with one bold person who's saying, I want to be the change and we have to do something different. But in the meantime, until someone has that wake up, we keep hurting one another. We keep doing the cycles. Molestation stays in the bloodline. Abuse stays in the bloodline. Poverty stays in the bloodline. Broken marriages stay in the bloodline. Sibling rivalry stay in the bloodline. All of these things create traumas. Mother, father, abandonment of parents with children. You just see it just keeps repeating itself until somebody, one person says, I'm going to do it differently. And then I'm going to teach all those that come after me how to do it differently. And then I'm going to
yeah,
reach back and try to educate those that will allow me to teach them to do it differently. And so to me, that's what generate. And when it continues, somebody is not willing to change.
absolutely. And so, how do you think emotional patterns like silence, control, or avoidance get passed down in families?
Again, I have to say, learn behavior.
Yeah.
I do what I always seen my mother do, my
Mm,
father do, what my siblings do. You become like what you're in. It
yeah.
becomes you're learning from your environment. It's that stronghold. It's that learning from what's around you. And it's again, nobody teaching differently because we all have the same mindset. I
Yeah.
feel like sometimes you have to connect with new. Why sometimes you have to leave your families and your environments and connect in new places and new environments to learn something new.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like just looking at those types of things too, what it sticks out to me is that these are, again, what we talked about at the top of the conversation. Mother wounds and father wounds create attachment styles. And the
Yeah.
silence, the control, the avoidance are all negative attachment styles.
Mm-hmm.
So you
Mm-hmm.
have the avoidance attachment type, those who just can't deal with anything. They can't confront the
Mm-hmm.
truth. They can't be confronted. They just avoid anything that is uncomfortable or hard. And
Yeah.
then you have the one is just looking for validation in everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just so many, but it all comes from, again, that generational trauma that is passed down, which is just, it's really devastating. Yeah, we can't even pinpoint the trauma that attaches itself to us in these many different ways.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's just like like you said with the validation. When you don't get it at home the way you should, you
Hmm.
go and you look for it in so many different places. And
Yes.
so that's how we find ourselves in relationships with people that we're looking to them to tell us something great and they
Yeah.
never do. And so we never feel good enough. And we go
Yeah.
from person to person. We overextend ourselves. We
Yeah.
give more than we get. We're more committed to others than they are committed to us. We
Yeah.
perform. We try to perform for love. Like we're just in need of someone to validate us because we're just never sure about ourselves. And so that
Absolutely.
also comes from lack, I feel like lack of affirmation from home,
Yeah.
which is why we have to affirm our kids starting as little children at home. Tell them that they're beautiful. Tell them that they're fantastic. Tell them. It doesn't mean we don't tell them the truth about when they err or correct them, but we also have to build them up and esteem them. That's another thing for me. I was missing. My mom called us names. She never called us like the bitch word. Never.
Yeah.
But it would be other things and it would tear down our self-esteem. I remember my grandmother saying things like, you was a fat child. And I had another grandmother, we called her grandma, but she wasn't my blood grandmother. Every time she saw me, she would call me the big black child. And so
Wow.
while people laughed at that, whole adults laughed at that and it was brought up all the time, but who thought about those words hurting that child? So
Yeah.
hearing all the time that you're a big black child and everybody laughing, I grew up with a complex about my skin. I
Wow.
grew up with a complex about my weight because the words and those seeds were put in me. So the first person that told me I was beautiful, look, I fell head over heels in love with an abuser because
Mm.
he knew how he had words. And because he had the words, which was a deficit for me, I fell for him. It didn't
Yeah.
matter that on the other hand of that, he called me bitches, he called me all those things. But when he was the abuser, they had two personalities. They have the personality that you fell in love with, and then they have the real them. And
Yeah.
so when the personality that I fell in love with would show up and he would say, I love you, so beautiful, you so this, I thought that the actual abuse was because he loved me so much.
Yeah. Wow.
And so we, again, just being careful. So I needed validation. I needed someone to say something good to me. I needed to hear that because I had heard so much that had torn me down as a child.
Yeah.
Even friendships with parents and not being accepted by my friends' parents and hearing them say things that created another level of deficit, another level of insecurity, unworthiness. What's wrong
Yeah.
with me? Needing to be esteemed, needing someone to tell me that I was good. You understand? You do that to a young person, it just will tear them down.
For
And the thing
sure.
was, where were the adults? Who was alert and who was aware of what type of trauma these words and these actions would cause a child? But
Yeah.
because of where we come from, there was a lack of education and a lack of knowledge, and they only repeated what was done to them. It was
Mm.
okay. They didn't know the damage, the psychological, the emotional damage that it would cause. And so years later, we're still healing from words that grown adults who should have been accountable for their words and careful of their words were going to cause in the life of another woman eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I spent a lot of my life. And then here comes, you talked about the avoidance, avoiding conversations. When we will operate in avoidance, sometimes I believe that's also because we were not taught in our homes how to communicate, like we said. We were not taught as families how to sit down at the table and let's just bear it all out. Let's just, when we did do that in my house, I was the bad person because
Mm.
I was not always a person who could not speak up. When I was younger, I had a tongue that I could pop off. I could speak. I was the spokesperson for my siblings.
Yeah.
But after being the spokesperson, I started angering the authority figures around me because I would
Yeah.
speak. I wasn't disrespectful, but I would just speak up and ask
Yeah.
questions about things. And so because I spoke up, it angered them. And I began to hear things like, no one will never like you because you talk too much. You never have friends because you talk too much. And so that began to shut me down. Well, I don't want to be not, but I don't want to never have friends because I talk too much. I don't want to be offensive all the time. And so I began to shut down my words. And when I began to shut them down, then I spent years of my adulthood trying to get them back. Yeah. So then the avoidance comes. I don't want to face conflict now. Excuse me. I don't want to,
Yeah.
I'm afraid of conflict. I'm afraid of the rejection that might come because of conflict. So when we have to have hard conversations, I don't want to. I shut down. I do. I give you the silent treatment. I will. That's how I knew how that was my communication. I stonewalled
Mm.
until I
Yeah.
had to relearn communication skills. I had
Mm.
to admit, and I didn't learn that until marriage. Imagine being a married woman who, instead of communicating, shut down, didn't want to express how I was truly feeling. So then you suffer in silence in a union, afraid of rejection to say what I'm truly feeling. And so it's a level of self abandonment that happens because of, in order that I don't offend others, I'll allow myself to be hurt, to
Yeah.
suffer inwardly. So I'm abandoning myself, my happiness, my peace, my joy, my feelings, so that others will not reject me.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah. I
So
had to learn life all over again, and I'm still learning now. Healing for
wow.
me, it feels like ongoing because there's still
Yeah.
so many things that I am unlearning and learning
Wow.
again. And it has
Yeah.
not been, it hasn't been just therapy. It's also, it had to be the Bible and the Word of God also.
Mm.
So the two I had to accept. Oftentimes in the faith, they tell you you are in lack of faith if you have a therapist because all you need is the Bible. But I
Yeah.
believe that God has anointed, He has ordained, He has appointed therapists to help us on the healing journey, that the two together can heal us. And so I
Absolutely.
embrace it. I embrace it. I embrace it for my husband. I embrace it for my children if they need it. I embrace it for my family. I embrace it because it is something. I choose Christian therapists in most cases, but I embrace it But that's my personal preference. I don't believe that that has to be anyone else's, you know? So, yeah, it's still a journey. I'm still unlearning and I'm still relearning every day. Yeah.
Absolutely. So before we go into the next question, I pulled up those attachment styles really quick, and I do just want to share them because I
Okay.
think they're so important as we are in the midst of this conversation that so much revolves around them. And it's just four of them, and I'm not going to go into them, but I encourage you listeners to look them up in your own time if you don't know them, or if you haven't already been acquainted with them and what they are. The first one is the secure attachment style, which is the healthiest. And then we have the anxious preoccupied, which I identify. We have the avoidant dismissive. And then we
Mhm.
have the disorganized fearful avoidant, which that one is, I just want to point that one out because it's something that you said. Want love, but love isn't safe. You don't feel safe being
Mhm.
in love. Love isn't something that you are used to, so it feels unsafe. It feels uncomfortable. It's something that may
Yeah.
put you or make you feel out of your comfort zone, but you crave it
Yeah.
so desperately. And that is true. Many people in the world today can identify with that disorganized, fearful, avoidant attachment style because we all are in desperate need of love. But my
Mhm.
God, it seems we are afraid to ask or afraid to speak and communicate that we are in need of it, to give it
Mhm.
or even to show it. And so
Yeah.
on the back of that, the conversation you just had with the generational traumas, it's like that's what we've seen. We've
Mhm.
seen parents, some of them stay in abusive relationships and not ask for the love that they need or ask for
Mhm.
the help that they need to get out of that.
Yeah.
And therefore, they didn't get the love that they need. And we
Mhm.
were exposed to that. Or we
Yeah.
saw single parents who was that strong woman who didn't express her needs to anybody.
Mhm.
She was enough for herself, but secretly craved
Mhm.
desperately love. Secretly and desperately, she needed to be loved. And you have so many other types that we can go on about. And it's just the fact that when we think about it, how much our childhood traumas play in how we love and who we love.
Mhm.
I think that you touched on and you said that validation sought you to an abusive relationship. My
Mhm.
craving of validation sought me to not abusive, but it was toxic. And because it
Yeah.
was a trauma bond, our validation made me insert myself into a trauma bonding situation where I saw out somebody who had the same traumas as me. It just identified differently within him, but we both were bonding through our
Mhm.
trauma of
Mhm.
dealing with those parent absent wounds. We were craving
Yeah.
something that we thought we could give each other, but not knowing that we didn't have the tools to give it to each other because
Mhm.
we both were unhealed. So all
Yeah.
we could do was create toxic environments for one another, and so I think it is so important that we come to understand that our
Mhm.
childhood is not separate from who we are as adults. Though you
Yeah.
may be grown, I'm grown, I'm this, I'm that, but your childhood is not. That little girl is still within you. One thing that I
Mhm.
learned in therapy is that that little girl is still in you. As broken as she is still within you, broken,
Yeah.
desperately crying out for help, for you to
Mhm.
get help for her. So
Mhm.
if that is you, get your little girl some help because she wants it. She is in need of it. She's desiring it. And that's through therapy, that's through ministerial counseling, or whatever it may be. Get some help because she isn't going nowhere. She's a part of you for the rest of your life. And baby, there are going to be days where you need to reach down where she is needing some attention and you need to hug her and you need to love on her. You need to tell her we are okay. Though
Yeah.
we are in this adult body now, we are okay. We're safe. We're loved.
Yeah.
We are able to love. And so we really, really need that. I listen to Dr. Anita a lot. And one thing that she says is that when her little girl starts to fester up, she whispered to herself, we're okay. We're safe.
Yeah.
We're good. And sometimes that's what it takes for us to
Yeah.
allow our little girl to know we're safe now. We're not in that abusive situation
Mhm.
anymore, or we're not in that trauma bond anymore. We're safe. We're good. And so I think that is important for so many of us to walk away with today. So, going into the
Yeah.
follow up, when someone grows up in a home without emotional safety, what we just basically touched on, how does
Mhm.
that impact their ability to be emotionally available later in life?
I think that it can swing two ways. I know for me, I didn't have emotional safety, but I became that person who was too much of an emotional safety space for people, if that
Mhm.
makes sense, because I didn't have it. So
Yeah.
I became the dump spot, right? The place where people can come and just tell all their emotions, everything. And I had this big heart to open up and to allow people to share. But eventually, what I began to do was take on other people's burdens. I began to take on other people's emotions that were not mine. I
Yeah.
began to become too tied in to someone else. And so for me, it worked the opposite. I know how some people, they're not available. They don't have, they can't let anybody in. They don't know how to connect. I went the opposite direction. I over connected. So let's say I
Mm.
didn't have a good balance. So when
Yeah.
it comes to emotional, for me, emotional safety and emotional availability, I think that you have to have a balance.
Yeah.
For me, I believe that there has to be availability, but there also have to be boundary. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like you
Yeah.
can't just give yourself all the way to everyone, right? You can't let everyone put all of their stuff on you. And so you have to have a good balance in that. And I
Yeah.
lost balance because, well, I want to be what I never had.
Yeah.
And before you know it, you just overwhelmed and stuff. You're overly connected into people that they don't even care as much as you care.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so I had to learn how to balance that. I went too much in that direction. And so now I have to teach myself how to come out of that and apply my boundaries. And so
Yeah.
now I know healthy connection. I'm healthy at this point in my life, I feel.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember realizing one day that I've been loving from a place of survival, trying to prove I was worthy instead of believing I
Mhm.
already was. That's when I
Mhm.
started to understand what love deficit really meant is that you are pretty much loving from a place that you are empty in. And mentioned this on a previous episode. When we're trying to love, and especially as believers or children of Christ, we know that
Mhm.
God loved us so much,
Mhm.
and He loved us from a full place.
Yeah.
And when He commands us to love Him and to love our neighbors as ourselves, I dissect that and I see three parallel components in which we are required to be able to love.
Yeah.
And if you're trying to love any of those intersections from an empty cup or empty
Yeah.
place, you are not going to be able to fulfill the
Yeah.
command
Yeah.
because you
Yeah.
don't have the necessary ingredients that is
Yes.
required
Yeah.
in order to fulfill that thing.
Yeah.
So, therefore, when we are loving, we can't love from a deficit.
Mhm.
We have to love from a surplus.
Yeah.
Therefore,
Yeah.
our cups must be running
Yeah.
over
Yeah.
consistently, which
Yeah.
means we have to continue to do the work that is needed
Yeah.
so that we can ensure ourselves we're loving from a love surplus and not a love deficit.
Mhm.
Because what
Yeah.
happens when we are loving from a deficit is just like you said, we, relinquish our boundaries, or either we don't have none in the first place.
Mhm.
We are people pleasing. We are
Yes.
trying to overextend ourselves. We are
Yeah.
bending over backwards for everybody else.
Yes.
We're saying yes
Yes.
to everybody and no to ourselves. We are trying to be superwoman for
Yeah.
everybody and everything except for
Yeah.
us. And we're giving, giving, giving while we're running on fumes. We
Yeah.
are literally on E. The tank is
Mhm.
empty.
Yeah.
And sooner or later, we won't be able to make it anywhere else or do anything else because guess what? Then
Mhm.
what happens is, just like you said, then you become depressed or you
Mhm.
become frustrated and
Yeah.
angry. Now everybody is wondering what's wrong with her. Like
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
what happened? It's because you didn't communicate your boundaries.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
you weren't running on an overage of love.
Yeah.
You were running on an empty tank in the first place.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
it's like learn how to first understand your needs and
That's
make sure they're fulfilled. And
mhm.
then from there, you can
Mhm.
give out of that overage.
Mhm.
Then I can say yes to you and I don't feel like I'm being forced to say yes.
Yes. Yes.
I can, show up for you and not feel secretly inside overwhelmed or burdened.
Yes.
I can do these things now with joy and a peace
Mhm.
of mind because I'm
Yeah.
doing it on a fullness,
Yeah.
not from an empty cup
Yeah.
or an empty place. And so that's what I had to learn in that place of love deficit for me because I was such a people pleaser
Yeah.
and I was so broken.
Mhm.
And I was doing these things, but secretly inside, I was hurting when I was doing it. I was angry when I would say yes with a
Mhm.
smile on my face, but I'm mad.
Yeah.
Like, what you mad for? You said yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Communicate your boundaries. I can't
Yeah.
do this today, girl. You know I love you, but I can't make
Mhm.
it to that.
Yeah.
That's my me time. I'm sorry, I can't compromise. I need it this week, whatever it takes. And if that person is reciprocal in your love
Yeah.
relationship, they will understand because
Yeah.
they too will have limits and boundaries within your relationship that they won't surpass or go past, and vice versa. So I think we all definitely need to understand when we're running on a love deficit and get yourself together so that you're not running on empty. You're not running from a deficit, but you're loving out of that surplus.
Can I say this?
Yeah.
The Bible says that we are to love our neighbors as we love ourselves. And a
Yeah.
lot of times, the problem is we don't know how to love ourselves. We
Yeah.
say we love ourselves, but when we truly love ourselves, we would not do some of the things that we do to ourselves and put ourselves in some of the positions that we put ourselves in. And so the problem is, I believe that we don't do enough talking with ourselves. Like
Mm.
we don't do enough investigating our feelings. A lot of
Yeah.
times we try to suppress our feelings instead of being curious about why am I feeling the way I'm feeling? What's going on with me? Slowing down to examine what's happening on the inside of us. Asking ourselves, what do I really need? A lot of people feel guilty and selfish when you say self-love. But you said it. You can't even really love people the right way until you can love yourself, right? And so I'm learning now to ask myself, what is it that you need? What is it that you need to do for you? You talked about filling the cup. How do I fill my cup?
Yes.
Everybody should have things in their book and on their list that they can do that fill themselves up. For me, I fill myself up by going, I love massages. I go get
Yes.
massages. I love reading. I read. I take myself on dates. I go to the movies
Yes.
alone. I go to restaurants alone. I like to shop alone. I like my alone time. There was once a time where I didn't like to be alone. I felt I
Yes.
always needed somebody to talk to and to laugh with and all that. Now, as I'm growing, I love my time. That's my refueling time. I love greenery, walking. And when I look at the trees, I feel like I hear God clearer. Those are the things that fill my cup up. I like to
Yes.
dress up. I like to look pretty. That makes me happy. I just and I'm getting myself full. And I've learned when you talked about saying no, give yourself permission to say no.
Yeah.
You do not have to be everything for everybody, and you can show up and support people in other ways. And when we learn how to communicate that and tell people and not be afraid of what they're going to say or how they're
Yeah.
going to feel, then we become a lot freer. And so I say, in agreement to what you say, fill your cup. Have a list of things that feel that you do that fill you up, that energize you. I'm learning now how to. Sometimes we love to multitask, but I'm learning now I don't need to do 15 things. Let me do one and perfect that, because then you scattered all over the place.
Yes.
And so it's really just, learning those things to love yourself and feeling how you feel. I used to feel bad for feeling how I feel. I used to feel bad for feeling my feelings. And so I had to learn that your feelings are not evil, they're not demonic. You have to allow yourself to feel it. Admit it. Listen, I don't like that. I'm angry
Yes.
about that. This is a problem for me. And it's okay. I don't have to beat myself up about how I feel. I give myself the freedom to feel how I feel. And then if
Yeah.
it's wrong, it's wrong. It's okay. I'll work
Yeah.
through that. But I allow myself the freedom to feel my emotions and know that it just makes me human, removing the pressure off of myself. So I'm in that full place and I'm loving me right, I have no problem loving someone else, even in their deficit place, because I'm so full.
Ooh.
Because believe it or not, everybody has a deficit, a weakness, something about them that we definitely might not like. But that's when we learn to love like God loves.
My God.
And so loving myself is a priority. I like your title, Loving Rissa. I like that title because that has to be. It's love your neighbor as you love yourself. So
Mm.
that means you got to love yourself. But then we also in that deficit, I've learned to give people grace
Yeah.
because people just don't know. We come from very different upbringings, very different worlds, very different experiences in lives and beliefs and understandings. And they
Mm.
just may not know how to love you the way you want them to. So I have to give you
Absolutely.
grace because your understanding of love and mine is two different things, or the way I want to be loved and the way you want to love me is two different things. So we have
Yeah.
to be willing to teach people how to love us. First of all, communicate it. But then we also have to be able to accept that they're going to fall short in some areas. But then we're
Yeah.
also going to have to understand that that perfect love comes from above. It comes from
My
God.
God.
And when you
Yeah.
let Him love you and you feel His perfect love, you in an overflow of love. When you loving yourself and you receiving His perfect love, you that's the feeling. That's the overflow you're talking about, right? And
Yeah.
it doesn't come from man. And then my God, if you do get a person that know how to love you well, yours is just the extra topping on it. You know what
Yes.
I'm saying? Because I love me and God
Mm.
loves me. So it's one of those seasons that I'm learning that even the more, but I have to embrace it. And guess what? The embracing is especially when I fall, when I make a mistake, when I'm flawed.
Mm.
It's easy to love ourselves when we do it all good and all perfect.
Absolutely.
And it's easy to believe that God loves you when you're perfect. But when you mess up and you flawed and you fail, and you can say, you know what, I'm messed up, but I love all of this. And I know
Yeah.
God loves all of this. It's understanding love.
Yeah.
Then that's when you know you truly in that place. You stop trying to strive for perfection, and
Mm.
perfectionism has to die. And so, and then you learn I'm love flaws and all. And that's the deepest part, Carissa, that I feel like we have a problem with when it comes to love and understanding God's love. That I'm lovable even when I'm not.
Yes. My
I'm lovable
God.
even when I'm messed up, jacked. I'm lovable even when I cuss my husband out. I'm still, it was wrong, but I'm still lovable. And that's where that good,
Yes.
positive self talk comes. That's when that self talk comes. When you build yourself up and not beat yourself up. That inner voice, we begin to, you know what I mean, speak good and well to ourselves, even in
Yeah.
our flaws. And that's how we begin to build ourselves out of those places and real change can happen. So yeah, I wanted to
Yeah.
add that in there for that love thing.
That
That
is
was
so
good.
good. Yes, we did. Episode 2 was on self-love, and you hit on so many of the points that I made in that episode because
Mhm.
it's like what I wanted people to understand is that yes, like we have to before we can just like you said, love, we have to know how to love ourselves, right? And before we can even really know how to love ourselves, we have to know how God's love works. Because if we don't know how his love works first, we can't even then pour that into ourselves. So I have to first know what his love components are. And that is just what you said. It's grace, it's mercy, it's forgiveness. It's me being able to be kind and patient with myself, even when I feel jacked up the most. Like,
Yeah.
girl, you are still able to speak kindly to yourself. You are still able to be patient with yourself. Why? Because your creator is. He is. That's his love. That's what it says. His word says that his love is unto you. He loved you and he saved you through grace. He loved you that much. And so, I just
Yes.
wanted to you share and have the people understand we have to. And one thing I emphasize too is that sometimes loving yourself ain't always going to be easy. Loving other people ain't
Yeah.
easy, right? Just like you said, especially when we love ourselves even through our flaws, and when we got to love somebody else through their flaws. Listen, that's something like that is not easy at all because it's like I can walk away from you. I can't walk away from myself, but I can walk away from you. But what true love is, you know what? It's not really bad enough that I need to walk away. So I'm going to love you with grace. I'm
Yes.
going to love you through your flaws, and prayerfully you're growing through your flaws. You're developing and trying to evolve through all of that, so I don't have to keep continuously loving you in that broken place. You're trying to heal that place. But listen, I have enough love, again, that surplus where I can love those broken places in you. I can love you through that healing. I can love you through those wounds. I can love you because guess what? God did it for us. He ain't turned away from us. I
Yeah.
gave my part of my testimony of my transformation story, and I was totally honest. I was like, look, I was messed up. Like I was a mess. I probably wasn't as bad as some other people, but I was a mess. My life was a
Mhm.
jacked up mess. And God didn't leave me in that mess. He didn't walk away from me. He didn't turn away. He didn't say, no, you deal with it. He took it on fully and he dealt with it. He handled it. He got me all the way together. And so I feel that if he's calling us to do that, he's calling us to reflect and reciprocate the same love that he gives us unto our neighbors, which is all of humanity, not just the ones we
Yes.
choose to love, but everybody, okay? Even Donald Trump.
Yeah.
So
That's
we
right.
gotta love,
That's right. That's right. It's true.
we gotta love them, okay? So I'm just saying that love is bigger. It's so much bigger than anything we can actually comprehend
Yeah.
because it takes a lot. Love takes a lot, and sometimes it hurts, sometimes
Yeah.
it's draining, sometimes it's like, man, I don't feel like doing this today because I got moments where I'm like I don't not love my husband, but sometimes I just don't feel like being loving. Like I just got my places sometimes where it's like I don't have the patience today. Okay.
Mhm. Yeah.
Like but I have to
It
be
is
that
true. It is true.
because I do enough work within me, like you said, that introspective work where I
Yeah.
can refuel myself and
Mhm.
deposit, and those are the ways that I refill my cup of
Yeah.
love.
Yeah.
And so I have those surpluses and I have that fullness to love
Yeah.
him out of, or to love my child out of, or stranger, whomever, to love them out of because I have done the work. Just like you said, the reading. And another thing is, I think when we talk about love, we want to make sure we understand that love and self-care are on the same spectrum, but they aren't the same thing. So you can do all the external things to care for yourself and to refuel and to re-energize and do all of that, but that's not where the buck stops. That's
Yeah.
not just where it ends to say, oh girl, I love myself because I do all of these things, or I
Mhm.
love myself, man, because I take care of myself, I'm clean, I smell good, all of the things. Like, no, that's not where it stops. What you're doing to heal on the end, what are you doing to make sure that internal is right?
Yes.
Because that's the posture where it comes, the heart. What are
Yes.
you doing to make sure that's right? Right? You talk
Mhm.
about it a lot in your transformation
Yeah.
series and in your um ministry and things like that. You speak about the heart. The
Yeah.
heart is important because that's where our love fountain flows. That's where it
Yeah.
comes from.
Yeah.
What's the position and the posture of your heart?
Yeah.
Right? You can only do that and make sure that's right by doing the internal work. So, like you said, reading. For me, I listen to other podcasts, I listen to sermons, I try to engage in deep conversations. I like movies that are rom-coms or just love movies. I like that. You know, it's movies, it's fiction, but it's
Yeah.
still something that fuels and fuel me because I
Yeah.
know that I can take or extract some of that and put it into reality
Yeah.
and know that this is a place of love,
Yeah.
right? This
Yeah.
produced some type of love in me.
Yeah.
Or I can use this and make somebody else feel loved. So I like to do all of that. I like to meditate. I do Pilates and work out. Those are the things for my external, but it also helped me in the internal because when I'm doing those things, I get to breathe.
Yes.
Breathing is important too. When I breathe, I I come to understand that breathing helps us release so much. Is good for so
Yeah.
many of our
Yeah.
internal systems, our nervous system, our brain, our
Yeah.
heart. It's good for so much. And
Yes.
so I breathe. I take the time to breathe. I do it more in Pilates than when I'm doing strength training, but still, and even outside of that, and when I do daily meditations, it's listening to scripture and it's instructing you to just take the time and breathe. And that fuels me in a way where it's like, even if I feel like I'm on the brink of something, it just brings me back and it draws me and it helps me connect with God and His love, listening to the sermons, being able to breathe, being able to release and do all of those things.
Yeah.
So whatever it is for you, find your outlet, find what refuels you, but make sure it's not just the external stuff, but you're also finding the things that you can do for that internal and the posture of that heart. that is going to help you be able to gauge where your love meter is, because whatever way your heart is reflecting, that's where you're loving from.
Yeah.
So make
Yeah.
sure that posture is right.
That's
So we're going to move into now the conversation around breaking the cycles, right? Because here
true.
we always want to make sure that when we have these deep conversations, we're also allowing ourselves and our in the audience to walk away with practical tips or steps to get over
Mhm.
these things, because healing is essential. So breaking the cycle, how do we even begin to break free from what we've inherited in generational trauma?
I want to say the first and to me the very most important thing is acknowledgement. Acknowledging that it's there. So often we refuse to admit that there's even an issue.
Yeah.
But for me, the first part of that is acknowledging that there is an issue, and allowing yourself to know that it is okay. It is okay. It's not a stab toward your family, or it's not a stab toward anything else or anyone else. You have to do what's best for you and do what's best for those that you are responsible for. So acknowledgement that something different has to happen. And then being willing to go after the change, allowing yourself to be free to do something different, something that you have never done before. I think you have to have an open mindset to learn something new, because nothing changes if new information and new learning is not given to you. New information and new learning produces new behaviors, new
Mhm.
practices, new patterns. And so you have to be willing to embrace the new and break the mold of the old. And you have to not ask for permission to do something different. I'm sorry, when I got ready to change some things in my life, I didn't ask for permission from my family. And I love my family and all of the wisdom and all of that, their opinions, but I had to do this for me. So
Yeah.
that was the first step for me, acknowledging that there's an issue, being willing to make the change, being willing to allow myself to enter into new information and go after it. If you know that there's generational trauma or some generational cycles, patterns, traumas in your bloodline, in your communities, and you know that that thing has attached itself to you, you can see the manifestation of it, then you have to be willing to go after what breaks it. So find out what it is and how do we break it? What should replace it? You understand? And so for me, that's what I would tell anyone. That's your starting point. And as you start, you'll grow. You'll get more and more things to help break you free. More freedom will come upon you. But just start doing things differently. Educate your mind. I already said that. Be willing to get the education, because I spent, when I recognized certain things were happening, I started to invest money into learning. Well, how do I do it differently? Because ain't nobody doing it different around me. So I start investing money into books, investing money into like going into places by myself, sitting in classes, learning. I started
Mhm.
getting very curious and inquisitive, and I started looking at how do I apply this. And so
Mhm.
that's what happened for me. And to be honest, I want to also say I'm going to give this, God pulled me away. And a lot of times people don't talk about it, and I think you did so very well talking about it when you talked that transformation series, that there does come a time where God will pull you away from what you've always known and people that you've always been attached to, and even your family. Remember when God got ready to bless Abraham, he told him to leave his family. He
Yes.
had to leave them to start all over again with his family. There was a season in my life where God literally moved the location of my family. And
Mm.
he moved us away, and nobody, Rissa, wanted to come see us. And I
Yeah.
would wonder why. I'd be like, dang, don't nobody come out here. I'm all by myself. But what he was doing was breaking some things. He was putting getting us in new environments, and we were connected with new people. And I was learning new things when I moved out to in Virginia that I didn't know in Southeast DC where I grew up.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, that's how you do that. That's how you do that. I was seeing something different. You know what I mean? So he was breaking some things. I was building my family. So where I had never seen a successful marriage, where I had never seen a father and a mother really in the household without the mother being the true provider for real,
Yeah.
taking care of the man. I was then seeing something different and manifesting something different. So we were breaking generational, even that was generational traumas being broken.
Yeah.
So he was doing something different, but I had to be willing. I had to be willing. I had to go in those places and be separate. And then what I learned is too, once he started doing it in me, others it started breaking from them too. So
Yes.
we were recreating, breaking those traumas that they don't happen in our families. But it's over time. You understand?
Yeah.
So that for me is what I would say.
So, what are some signs that we're operating from an emotionally w- wounded place versus a healed space?
Ooh, emotionally wounded space versus a healed space. I want to say fear, living life fearfully, living life always on guard, living life always afraid that somebody's going to cross you, somebody's going to deceive you. Nothing feels safe. Triggers. Something happens and it sets you back. It feel like you in that same thing that happened to you many years ago. You easily trigger. When you're triggered, your emotions go all over the place. You have a hard time connecting with people. So for me, that tells me that you're still in an unhealed space. There's a
Yeah.
constant fear of connection in people. And so everything sets you back. You know what I mean? You're never fully trusting to truly bond and truly connect and truly become one with anybody. Nobody is safe. And
Yeah.
so for me, that's an unhealed space.
Mhm.
That's an unhealed space, easily set back. But to me, when you are open to relationship, when you're open for connection, when you're able to operate in, like we talked about, grace and mercy and compassion and empathy, when you're able to be patient with people and long suffering, when you're not so fearful about somebody else hurting you or you just don't live from that space. You see things differently.
Yeah.
That's so love is easier to flow from you. You can trust yourself. You trust yourself with others and you trust others with you.
Mm.
Your responses are different. Your responses aren't explosive. Your
Yes.
responses are sharp. Your
Yeah.
responses aren't wounding. You know how you relate to both disappointments and celebrating things. It's
Yeah.
almost like you're more nurturing. You know what I mean? You're like a representation of Christ
Yeah.
operating from a healed place, in my opinion.
For
And so
sure.
while I do think that, and so you're guarded when I feel like you're guarded when you're in an unhealed space, but I do feel like there's a place for guarding. But
Yeah.
like I said earlier, yes, we're responsible for God in our hearts. We're responsible for having boundaries. We have all those things in place, but we don't look at things like everybody is kind of out to get us and we're always on edge and always on guard, always easily offended. I see people that operate from an unhealed place, they're easily offended all the time. They
Yes.
listen from you can say something to them and it can be a positive thing, but they always hear something negative. The way they
Yeah.
hear things in life is different. It's just the view on life is totally different when you're unhealed versus when you're healed.
Oh.
And so that's my opinion of that. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
And I've been in that place where someone can be perfectly being kind to me in some cases, and I'm like, what's their agenda? What you
Mm.
want from me? I don't trust you. You push people away when you're unhealed, for real, because you're already preparing for them to be and do what they've been and what they've done in the past. You're already preparing for them to hurt you. So you just start pushing them away. You push the world away. You keep distance from you and people in an unhealed place. And so we have
Yeah.
to, I feel like when you're healed, you're willing to love and willing from a pure, not from a desperate place, but from a place of saying that I am human and I deserve love and I was born for
Yes.
connection, and you embrace that connection. Yes, do you have to do it with the right people? Yes, do you have to define those roles and relationships and people in your life? Yes, all of that. But at the same time, you're willing, you're open. You're easier to, a lot of people say that they are the way they are when they have like bad attitudes and they that way because this is who I am. No, it's not who you are. There's something underlining
that is causing you to behave, to react, and respond in those ways. Check your wounds.
Yeah.
Check your place and source of healing. When you hear a lot of women say, I don't do women. I don't do women. How don't you do women? We need each other.
Yes.
We're each other's support. But you don't do women because there's something in that heart that's hurting, that's wounded, that needs to be healed. You're operating from an unhealed place. Men bashers. I don't like men. I don't want nothing to do with them. Why? Because you're operating from an unhealed place. Even
Yeah.
church hurt. I don't do church. Operating from an unhealed place. Because not all women are against you are evil. Not all men are against you are evil. Not all churches are against you are evil. But when you're unhealed, you'll put a blanket statement on everything.
Mm.
There's even a root of bitterness that begins to manifest when you operate from an unhealed place, when you refuse to allow yourself to heal. Some of us like being sick.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen people who they'll tell you the same story over and over again? They'll tell you about their pain over and over again because it gets them pity. It gives
Yeah.
them attention. And so
Mm.
some people don't want to be whole. They don't want to be made whole. They like being sick.
Yeah, it's so true. Wow. That is so true. And I think that part right there, being complacent
Mhm.
in your
Mhm.
wounded space
Mhm.
for so many people because, of compassion or the pacifying that people,
Yeah.
it is
Yeah.
so unfortunate that today, we live in the state we're in the state of Maryland right now, and our governor Westmore has an initiative that he's doing for young men in Maryland statewide to help them because our young men are suffering. And I think, Shaquita, that you pinpointed something so powerful in that moment. They are suffering because they are living complacent in their woundedness.
Mm.
So
Wow.
many of our young men, just like you said, the stigma of therapy, man, we thought it was bad for women, but women
Yeah.
are more open than men
Yeah.
to seek out help, even if it's not from therapy. You'll call a girlfriend or you'll call a family member
Yeah.
or whomever and try to hash it out through conversation. But you got to think about for men and especially Black men, they have a harder time communicating one, their emotions and their needs, and then also having the feeling of wanting somebody to help them. They still carry that strong Black man. We don't need nobody help. I got this. It's so bad. And I think that his initiative is so important to reach our younger men right now,
Yes.
especially those that we can kind of grab out of that before they get older and stay complacent and stuck in those ways in that frame of thinking to kind of pull them out and get the help that they need because they are suffering from suicidal ideations,
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
suicidal acts in
Yes.
their privacy time. They are in these dark sides of the internet and they're engaging in
Mhm.
these places with these red pill communities of men who are feeding them all of this toxicity and these thoughts that are just unbearable.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
so many of them are falling victim and prey to that because there's such a lack right
Mhm.
now of other men who are vulnerable enough to say, "Hey, listen, that was me, but I got the help that I needed and now I'm healed. Now I'm
Mm.
whole. This is what you need to do,
Mm.
young man. This is
Mm.
what you need to do, brother." It's so
Yeah.
hard for them to reach out and grab someone's hand because it will seem that they're weak in that
Mhm.
respect
Yeah.
because, man, I needed help or I
Yeah.
needed something. And it's so devastating. And
Yeah.
especially now in the times that we're living in when it's showing in our leaderships in politics,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
showing in our leaderships in the business sector, it's just
Yeah.
showing in the individuals that you would think we would have to look up to in those respects in this country and in this society and even in most respects in the world because men are operating out of a place of wounded ego.
Yeah.
That wounded ego, my God, even for us women, I was one who I operated out of a wounded ego for a long
Mm.
time.
Wow.
And it will keep you in a place because it tells you you're weak if you ask for help.
Mm.
You know, you can't do this on your own, so therefore you don't deserve or
Yeah.
whatever, just such toxic and miserable thought patterns
Mm.
that will lead you to. And I just pray that men, and especially young men and women alike, young women and young ladies
Mhm.
listening to this, will hear what you just said and really understand the importance behind that you can pinpoint when you're operating from a wounded place and from a healed place. And if
Mhm.
you are seeing the signs that you're operating out of that wounded place, seek the help. Get the help. And that's what we keep reverting back to in this conversation is get the help that you need, because we know that we're
Mm.
dealing with a mental illness epidemic in this country, a loneliness
Yes.
epidemic
Yes.
in this country. Suicide rates are higher among our young people in this
Mm.
country, even higher among our men in this country, and most of that
Mhm.
younger boys in this
Mhm.
country. So we have so many problems on top of each other. And for us believers, we can pinpoint it and say that that is truly nothing but the hand of Satan trying to
Mhm.
take out so many of God's people. And even if they aren't believers, they're still God's people because they are his children. He's the creator of everything under the sun. Okay. Like we know that, and we know that to be true. And so,
Yeah.
therefore, Satan does not want us to come to a place where love and prosperity is what binds us and
Yeah.
unites us and
Yeah.
gathers us and holds us, because we need that in this country right now, like never before. But he doesn't want that. So, of course, he'll make sure that everything that is opposite of that is magnified and
Yes.
intensified.
Mhm.
And so I just think that it's so important right now, that your words, man, just get the help, especially
Mm.
if you are operating out of that wounded place. You don't
Mm.
want to stay there. Don't
Mhm.
become complacent there. That
Mhm.
is not the place that you want to live your life, because you will look back and you will understand that you didn't live the fullness of life that you were promised.
Yeah.
And you just can't from that place. So I pray right now for everybody, anybody in that place, get the help that you need to come out of that space. And you touched on this, but I'm gonna ask it really quick because I think this is important, because you mentioned forgiveness as a part of healing,
Mm.
which is a major factor. So how do forgiveness and grace play into this process, especially when we're forgiving people who never apologize?
Mhm. Yeah. One, I think that first of all, I don't believe that healing can actually take place until forgiveness starts. I think that also we have to recognize that we have to forgive. There's been so many times where I actually thought that I didn't have a problem with people, but
Yeah.
in my heart, I would go to find out that actually I do have resentment there.
Mm,
Actually, I do have some bitterness concerning them. Actually, I do have some unforgiveness there concerning them. I think that forgiveness, and especially for the believer, right? That we also have to allow the Holy Spirit to search our hearts and show us what's there. And then once we are willing to acknowledge and admit that there is unforgiveness, I think that's when we need to take the journey toward forgiving,
mm,
right? So recognizing that forgiveness has to come without an apology, like you just said. Because if you're going to base your forgiveness on an apology in a lot of places, you'll never get an apology. So you'll always be in unforgiveness.
mm,
Recognizing when you recognize the actual physical impact that unforgiveness have on your body. I'm talking about your physical body for real. It's so much deep, it's spiritual, right?
mm,
But unforgiveness, even in the natural and in the physical, causes harm to your body. A lot of
wow.
us are stressed. A lot of people, cancer. Unforgiveness has been the root of that. It's proven high blood
Mm,
pressure, unforgiveness, migraine headaches, unforgiveness. Unforgiveness can be connected to so many muscle pain, joint pain. It can be
wow.
connected to so many overeating, sleep deprivation, depression. Unforgiveness is connected to so many things. Once you really begin to research unforgiveness, you will get so overwhelmed. You'll be like, you know what? I don't even care. I want to forgive. I can't afford
Yeah.
shortness of life. Like it causes growths on your
Mm.
body. Like I can't even afford not to forgive you. I want to live. And like you said, I want to live the abundant life. Unforgiveness robs you of your joy. And so
Mm.
once I tell anybody that struggles to forgive, educate yourself about unforgiveness and how it impacts the human body, both mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. And
Mm.
once you get a revelation to understand of that, then understand also how it impacts you spiritually. Because the Bible tells us also that how we don't forgive, that our Father won't forgive us, right? And so we also have to understand that unforgiveness puts a gap in between us and God. It stains the relationship. And so I want to be in right standing with God. He's so loving and kind that He loves us regardless. But it
Yeah.
can interrupting the connection and the closeness that we feel with God. And so when that's being said, I make a decision to forgive. Once I make that decision to forgive, I make it with or without their apology, understanding that it's not necessarily about them at this point, but it's about me living freely. And I
Yeah.
believe that once we forgive, freedom comes. Once we release people from whatever they've done against us, it's another part of this that I believe that it makes forgiveness easier. Forgiving is not saying that they didn't do it. Forgiveness is not saying that they weren't wrong. Forgiving is saying that I release it and I give it to God and I trust that He will deal with it. I leave
Mm.
it. I'm making this decision for me. I'm freeing myself from this. And
Yeah.
so I believe that that's the first part. I don't even think that, especially when you're healing from trauma, things that people have done to you, I don't even think you can get on your real healing journey without forgiveness first. So I say to everyone, start with understanding what the unforgiveness and its impact. Start looking at that both spiritually and naturally. And start loving. It's self-love that I love myself enough
Mm.
to let this go so that I can start my healing journey. It's necessary. And then
Yeah.
once you do that, then you move throughout, you do the things as we've already talked about, the therapy, the re-educating yourself. You do the healing things that need to be done in order to heal from that trauma.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's so good.
yeah.
And this question, I believe the last follow-up in this section, I think this is so important because it goes on the back of what you just said.
Mhm.
Is it possible to love your family and still acknowledge the pain that came from them?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, for sure.
Yeah.
Those people that have hurt me, even my abuser, that which is
Mm.
my, still we consider family, right?
Yeah.
Even my abuser, I love them. I love them. I pray for them. And now because I've forgiven, and I heal, I pray for them from a pure heart. It's not, I'm praying for you because I'm praying for my enemies. And the Bible says that we're supposed to pray for our enemies. I'm not doing it out of spiritual or religious obligation. I'm
Yeah.
doing it because I really want them to be well in life. Like I really want them to prosper, succeed, and get the healing and the deliverance that they need because I can now empathize with why
Mm.
they did what they did. And when I can begin to understand their deficit in their life journey, all that
Yeah.
they had to endure, I empathize. Like, oh my God, I want to cry. Like you went through a lot. Now I see why you were the way you are, and empathy freed me even the more. And so I could feel that though once my heart was in a healed place. And so when it comes to people in my life that I believe could have given more in certain areas, I no longer hold it against them though. I recognize that they just didn't have it to give, but I
Yeah.
still recognize that it was not okay. That was
Yeah.
not okay. It was not okay that you abandoned me at 10. It was not okay that you said these things to tear down a young child. None of it was okay, but I love you and I forgive you and I want the best for you and we can move on. We can
Yeah.
move on, you know? And some didn't agree with what I felt. They thought that what you feel is wrong and that's not true. Well, this is my truth,
Yeah.
you know? So you can absolutely love someone that has hurt you.
Mm.
You can absolutely do it. Absolutely. And say that it's not okay and agree to disagree. Whether you agree with me or not, it's okay. We can move forward.
Yeah.
We can move forward. I've had people, when I wrote my first book, I had to have some tough conversation. People was like, "How dare you say that? That wasn't true." They was really upset with me. I said, "Well, we can agree to disagree. I still love you,
Yeah.
and it's okay."
Mm,
That's me. That's little Shaquita, me standing up for little Shaquita, like you
that's
talked
right.
about. That's me
Yeah.
standing up for my little girl. I didn't have a voice when I was that little girl because I was trying to please and I was chasing you and I wanted to be everything perfect so that you love me. But now I'm standing in my truth and I'm going to tell my truth. I'm standing up for little Shaquita. She couldn't say it, but this wrong woman right here, I can say it. I can
Yes.
say it. And when I stand up for her, she feel it. She feel it.
Yes.
She feel it. And so,
So
yeah.
good.
I think you
Wow.
can. And I think where you can restore relationships, do it. It
Yeah.
may not be to the extent, so maybe they're not a person that's gonna be like this with you,
Mhm.
right? That's fine. But if we can be cordial and we know that we love each other, it's cool. And where you can't restore relationships or you can't, be anything, can never speak to them again, reconcile it in your heart.
Yeah.
Reconcile it in your heart. God, I do what I can to make amends. Even if I never talk to them, I talk to God. God, I forgive them. I let it go. I release this. I'm done. If I ever seen them on the street, I say hi. And
Yes.
that's it. I have so many testimonies with this. When someone very close to me passed away, and there was a lot of things that was done to me that hurt me in that. But later on, I had to go to the person who hurt me, one of them, their rescue. And I had to do something to help save them. But
Mm.
I did it not from a grudging place. I did it from a place of, because I forgive you. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And this place showed up, and because I could show up. Like you
Yeah.
said, you don't want to do something because it's grudgingly, but I showed up because I could, because I let it go. I felt it for a minute, yo. I talked about it for a lot. I talked about it to whoever would listen, you know, just to get it
Yeah.
out. But eventually I made a decision. God help me to let this go. And so
Yeah.
when I let it go, he was actually able to use me to help them.
Mm.
And he actually vindicated me in that because then they got to see real love, made them
Yeah.
regret even the things that they had said and done. So yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Look
yeah.
at that. God will do it. Listen,
Mhm.
because at the end of the day, love is his thing.
Yes,
And, that's one of the hardest truths is that healing doesn't mean dishonoring your past. It means refusing to repeat it.
yes. I love that.
Just don't repeat it. You don't have to neglect it or negate it,
Mm.
but
I
you
love that.
don't have to repeat it either.
Mm.
And just like Shaquita said, it may even come to the point where you have to confront someone who hurt you from your past.
Yes.
And then the apology that you may have been wanting, the closure finally comes years or decades, whatever later. But God has a way to shift and move people's hearts even when they don't want to.
Yeah,
They may not even want to apologize to
yeah,
you. They don't know why they doing it,
yeah.
but if it's God's time, and then he will make it happen. Trust and believe. And you may be past the closure, but it still
Mhm.
does something to your heart posture. It still nicks it in a place where it's like, wow, like, okay,
Yeah.
finally, and I'm
Brista, I
okay.
didn't get an apology from my abuser until probably almost 17 years after it happened. By then, I had already forgiven. I had already let it go. When I wasn't even thinking about it, they called
Mm,
and gave me an apology. And so I believe that in that whole time, I was still praying for them and I moved on. I was still showing kindness. I already wrote about it, I already got it out of my system and released it. I believe, like you just said, that God was working on their heart the
yeah.
entire time, and he was just allowing me to be me, to go through my process. And at the right moment, like you said, they come back and apologize. And it
Yeah.
happened. It happened in my life. When I got it, I was like, oh wow. And I was able
Right.
to talk to that person. I ain't say, yeah, because you was messed up and you shouldn't have did it. And not. None of that. I was like, well, thank you.
Yeah.
You know, we talked. It was real good. It was real good. And even now we have a decent relationship. We don't
Wow.
talk every day, but when we need to, we do. And it ain't
Yeah.
hostile. It's not any of those things. And so he will do it. He
Mm,
will do it. Yeah.
amazing. Look at that.
Yeah.
Okay, we are going to move on into trying to relearn emotional availability because
Mm-hmm.
I think that after all of the acknowledging and accepting
Mm-hmm.
and learning the processes to break the patterns,
Mm-hmm.
how do we come now to that whole place, like you said, not staying in the wounded place, but trying to relearn the
Mm-hmm.
healthy place? And so,
Go ahead.
what does emotional availability actually look like in practice?
I think it explains itself. Emotional availability. I think it goes back to what I've already said, really, in my opinion. Being available
Yeah.
for connection. I think it means being available for relationships.
Yeah.
Um, Being open to experience it without necessarily a guard of fear again. Willing to take the risk, able to embrace things and people, and I just want to say open, but with
Yeah.
wisdom. That's what, when I think of emotional availability, that's what I think of.
Mm, that's
Yeah.
good. And so then why is it so hard for people who've been emotionally neglected to
Mhm.
receive love even when it's healthy love?
So when I first met my husband, because I was in an abusive relationship before I got with him, and I watched my mom in an abusive relationship. So I
Mhm.
saw what that looked like. It was always strife. It was always contention. There was always violence. It was always yelling. It was always hostility, no safety. So when I entered into an abusive relationship, it was the same way, right? And so then when I met my husband, all of that was in me because it
Mm,
was all that I had ever known. My husband was very gentle. He was very kind. He was very affectionate. He liked to hold hands. He liked to cuddle. He liked to kiss. He liked to hold me close. He was
yeah.
something far different. It wasn't the abuse. I wasn't being handled like a man, like a Tonka truck. I wasn't being
Yeah.
beat on. I wasn't being attacked. I wasn't being yelled at. I wasn't being called bitchs. And so that love from him, that not wanting to yell, not wanting to fight, calling me beautiful when I all I've known to be called was bitches,
Mm,
and big black girls and,
yeah.
too grown and too fast and talk too much. So when
Yeah.
he came in a different way, it just felt, I didn't even know how to receive that. And to me, it felt like a weakness in a man. Mm. Because I
Wow.
thought love was like what I had seen and what I had experienced. And so when he would fight to hold on to me, like when we would get in arguments, I would hit 1,000 because that's what I was used to. I would yell, I would scream. He would be like, whoa. So now I became the abuser because I was hurting him. So I had become what I had experienced. So his healthy love, I didn't know how to receive that because then I was so wounded, right? That felt foreign. That felt weak. I don't want to hold in my hand. I was embarrassed and ashamed. You want to
Mm,
go on a date and hold my hand? What? Hmm? You talking light like that to me? I'm beautiful. You saying I'm beautiful? No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I couldn't accept those kind words because I had been beat down so long. So it's unlearning what I thought love was.
yeah.
Because when the abuser abused me, I thought that was because he loved me so much.
Yeah.
Remember, this violence started when I was 15 years old. So I thought that he did that. Girl, he's so jealous. He loved me so much. He fighting over me. He fighting me because, so
Yes.
to see something different felt strange.
Yeah.
It was hard for me to receive that because I was like comparing the two. I was comparing like he not like, and so where I should have been receiving it, I had to learn, oh, that's what love feels like. Oh, that's what love is. Even spiritually, when God sent me spiritual mothers.
Yeah.
I was used to how my mom did it. She was so
Yeah.
hard. She was so hardcore with it and all that. So that when I had spiritual mothers that loved me softly, gently, but hard, I thought they had agendas. I thought, nah, so I was paranoid. I didn't know how to receive. You just love me. What is this? It felt foreign, you know? And
Yeah.
so I had to learn what real love was. But I had to understand what agape love was, unconditional love. That love was patient, love was kind, love kept no record of wrong. Love was selfish. I had to learn what love was. And then I was like, oh, this is love. Okay. Then I learned to rest in it. It took me a long time to rest in it. Then there was a fear of being hurt that was associated with it because then I don't want to be hurt. So that guard was up. So I fought. But as
Yeah.
I again unlearned and relearned, I became more accepting and knowing that I'm worthy of it, I deserve it. I don't have to look, I don't have to have on a full face of makeup, long hair, all the best clothes, all the best body, be slim, 130 pounds, Coke shape, bottle shape, all of those things to be loved by me. I can just be me.
Yes.
I don't have to be that perfect daughter that gets everything right with all A's that shows up in the Cinderella beautiful dress, all dressed to get love. I can be me. I'm good enough. I'm worthy. You know?
Yes.
So it took a while. It took a while, but I got it now. I got it. But so
Wow.
many people reject love.
Yes.
So many people reject love. They're afraid to let anyone in. Fear. We're afraid to let people in because you're afraid of being hurt again.
So true. That's
But in
so
perfect
true.
love, there is no fear.
Yes.
So yeah. So again,
Mm.
it's that space of needing to be healed.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
And speaking
discovering
of
what.
that space,
Mhm.
um, what how did you start reparenting yourself from that generational
Yeah.
trauma
I
from
s
the deficits of
Mhm.
your parents?
I allow myself to see and I for a long time, I took on the strong girl mentality too.
Mhm.
I don't need anything. I'm good. I
Yeah.
got this. No matter what happened in life, I'm good. I'm strong. People did me wrong. It's okay. It's okay. So I denied myself the right to feel what I feel and to truly say I need what I needed.
Mm.
So now as an adult, reparenting myself, I identify what do I need? Like I said earlier, what do I need? What do I
Yeah.
need right here in this space? And I give it to myself. I give myself compassion. I was my worst critic.
Yeah.
My inner voice was bad. I spoke to myself. I was hard on myself. I gave myself no grace
Wow.
most of my life because their perfectionism was there. Because
Mm.
remember, I'm striving and performing for love. So when I mess up, oh, you messed up, I would beat myself up verbally.
Wow.
And so now I have to do something different. I have to give myself grace and be compassionate. Something that I don't feel that I got as a child, compassion. So I have to give it to Shaquida. I have to give myself permission to make mistakes.
Yay.
I have to give myself permission to say I'm not okay.
Mm.
I have to give myself permission to say that was not right. That
Wow.
was wrong.
Yeah.
I have to give myself permission to be angry sometimes.
Yeah.
I have to give myself permission to feel.
Yeah.
I literally have to have pep talks with myself and say, this is how you feel. It's okay. Allow
Wow.
yourself to feel it because little Shaquita didn't allow herself to feel. Young adult Shaquita didn't allow herself to feel and then adult Shaquita didn't allow herself to feel. So now I have to allow myself to feel it's not okay. And then religious Shaquita definitely didn't allow herself to feel because I demonized all my feelings.
Mm.
And that's something we have to be careful about because emotions and feelings was given us. God created those.
Yes.
And he created us because that is a sign and a representation that we are human. If we had no feelings and emotions, we would not be human. We wouldn't even be able to feel love in life. So emotions are sometimes our indication that things are wrong. It's not that I had to teach myself, Shaquita, little Shaquita, there's nothing wrong with emotions, honey. Nobody told me that. There is nothing wrong with emotions. You just can't let them control you.
Yes.
And so I reparent myself and given myself the grace to feel, give myself the grace to say things, stand up for myself. You don't have to shut up. Those
Yes.
words no longer control your life. You don't have to be quiet or nobody else is gonna like you. If they don't like you because you talk, then they don't need to be in your life. That's how I have to talk to myself. And not only
Yeah.
that, those words suppress my spiritual calling
Yes.
because I am a mouthpiece for God and I am a minister of the gospel and I have to speak. My
Yes.
speaking helps and saves lives. But if I'm muzzled because I'm afraid they're not gonna like me when I say it, then I can't effectively perform and operate even in my spiritual
Mm.
calling. And so
Yeah.
I have to free myself from that, you know? And I also have to realize when sometimes those things from the past try to creep back up. So when those thoughts start coming, I check them. When them little thoughts from little Shaquita start appearing in my life, in my adult life, even in my now, I check it.
Yeah.
I have to check it.
Mm.
After as a parent, as reparent, and I affirm myself. You know, I do. I affirm myself. I use the affirmations. I use the scripture to affirm myself. Even there was a point where in religion that taught you that affirmations were like witchcraft, right?
Yeah.
You know, you chanting, wrong understanding. And so
Yes.
I had to free myself from even those religious teachings. What?
Mm.
No. I know I'm not saying it because the power is in me. I know that it all comes from God. But I'm
Yeah.
saying I am royalty because the Bible says that I am a royal priesthood and a holy nation. You know, I was afraid. I had to tell myself, it's okay. I remember when I was young, I used to look in the mirror all the time and they used to say I was conceited. I had a problem. So then I said, okay, well, let me change that. I don't want to be conceited. God don't like that. And so now I'm afraid to say that you are beautiful.
Mm.
When the Bible says that we are made in his image,
Yeah.
he's beautiful. Why can't I say I'm beautiful? Why can't I esteem myself? Why does that have to be equated? What's wrong with self-love? I know
Yeah.
who created me. I give glory to the creator. So I have to still do some of that too.
Yeah.
Because again, that past or that young Chiquita will try to rise up and then I let her know. And then we all
Yeah.
right. It's not to suppress it. It's just that we have found the tools
Yeah.
to address it and to deal with it, you know?
Mm.
So that's my reparenting.
Wow.
And I give myself when I was young, my mom didn't have a lot of money, right? But she
Yeah.
did the best she could. She even fed our friends. She worked with what she had. When I say that lady could stretch things, she stretched things for us. We had everybody at our house and she fed everybody. She stretched things.
Yeah.
And so she kept her doors open, but we couldn't get like the finer things.
Mm.
So now I will reparent myself. I'll give myself that.
Yes.
I'll have to tell myself it's okay to splurge sometimes. It's okay to give yourself the nice things. It's okay to spend the money on you. It's
Yeah.
okay to do those things. And so I have to reparent in that way, give myself what I desire. I desired those things when I was young, but I
Yeah.
wasn't able to get it. So I'll give it to myself. It's okay. It doesn't make me. I don't need it to define who I am, but at the same time, I deserve it.
Yeah.
I'm worthy of it. I can have it. I'm the king's kid, you know? So that's another way.
Yeah. Wow. That's so good. All of the ways that you said are just amazing. That reparenting
Mhm.
is so important. When I first started, I thought that was a crazy idea, like, reparent
Me
yourself, how
too.
you supposed to but when you heal, it's almost like it becomes natural, like, you start
Uh-huh.
to just do it, right? You
Mhm.
start, like you said, to speak kind to yourself, you start to be a little more gentle with yourself, you start to take note of the
Yeah,
things that
yeah.
you missed as a kid and allow yourself those things, and for me, I think one of the biggest things because I was a latchkey kid, so I took on responsibility early of having to care for my younger sibling and coming home. My mom was still at work being by myself, so I was pretty much the adult in the house,
Mhm.
so sometimes I feel like I grieve having a real childhood or, responsibility in some ways, but I also feel that that made me responsible as the woman that I am and the adult that I
Mm.
became. It made me responsible in so many ways, which I'm so grateful for
Yeah.
early on, but also sometimes, grieve having to have responsibility so early on. And so I allow myself to dive in that inner child. When my little girl is like, listen, I just want to be a kid, like engage in that.
Yeah.
Like, I will enjoy my own entertainment. I will crack myself up. I will watch a childish movie that, or
Yes.
for me, it might not
I
be
love
childish, but
that.
some people will deem it childish or whatever it may be. Or, if she feel like she just want to go outside or just do whatever it is that's enjoyable as a child, as a kid, you think about those things that just made you feel so free and made you feel, it was fun, and it was just like a sense of relief, and it was just joy. And sometimes my little girl she gets in a place where she's just like, man, I want joy. I
I
just need
understand.
joy. And so for me, it's what can I find to bring us joy? Like re-engaging in riding bikes or just walking in the park. Some of the things that we didn't have because we did grow up in Southeast DC. So,
Yes.
we didn't have nice parks. We didn't have
No.
some of the things that we have access to today. And
Yeah.
so going to the malls or whatever the case may be, and allow her to do all of those things that may be a sense of joy to her. So that was one of the ways that I discovered reparenting myself was important, and actually helped in a way to get her to that place of just feeling relief in that sense. And I've mentioned it, but I know you also went through therapy. So what role did therapy and or faith or community play in your process of healing and reparenting yourself?
It gave me the safe space to talk about it.
Yeah.
So I think that with therapy, it's the talk space a lot of times. Some I had years and years and years of pent up feelings that I had
Mm,
never really felt. I think that there's layers of things within us. There's some things that we choose to share and we share with certain people in certain times. And then there are things that we bury deep within because we can't bear to say it to anyone. But
yeah.
therapy is that place where you have that non-judgment zone. It's supposed to be an atmosphere of safety and
Mm,
security for you, and allows you to talk. It allowed me to talk. And as I began to talk, deeper and deeper and deeper things begin to come out. Things that I
mm,
didn't even know was there begin to get dug up. Things that I had buried within me that was really impacting me in a lot of different ways. I didn't know why my personality was the way it was in some places spaces. I didn't know why I made some of the decisions I made. It even impacts your intimacy with your spouse. It
mm,
impacts your relationship with your children. It impacts your relationship with your siblings. I just didn't know why certain things were there, but therapy allowed me to talk and talk. And as I began to talk, it began to just reveal. And then as they put me on a journaling journey and I began to write, it began to reveal. Stuff just started to come up. So therapy gave me the safety space to actually start talking about things and uncovering those thoughts, those beliefs, and those pains that were there that were actually influencing my personality, my behaviors, and my decisions, and my
mm,
relationships, my work ethic. I mean, my eating habits. It
yeah.
allowed those things to come up. And so I got clarity on why I did some of the things I did. And so
Wow.
that's how therapy helped me. And then therapy gave me the tools, right? There's the spiritual tools, but then there's the practical tools that you talked about, the things that we can do in the natural, the scientific things that we can do that can coincide with the spiritual things that actually help us. So the therapy gave me the tools. So I had Christian therapists. So they
Mm,
were not only able to relate to the scientific, but they related to the spiritual, but then they also related it to my office in the kingdom of God. So they taught me how all of it worked together. And so it gave me a very holistic experience. So I learned to come out of just the religion and religious part of it and to see how it all can work together, how one thing impacts another. And so
mm,
for me, that's what therapy was. It was holistic and it allowed me a place to heal my heart. You talked about that heart, to heal my
yeah.
heart. And therapy was the first place that I was able to say that the things that happened to me was not okay. I
Wow.
was afraid to say it was not okay because I didn't want to hurt anyone. And I didn't want to believe that I was speaking badly about anyone. Therapy was the
Mm,
first place that's helped me say it is not okay. And it is okay not to be okay. And so therapy was also the first place to help me understand that for my abusers or my abusers and even those who I feel my parents per se, that they did the best they could with what they had. It gave me the understanding of that. And it helped me to empathize with all of those people to say, wow, I can now see and I can now understand, how you could do things. Therapy walked me through that. And so that's why I highly recommend people get it. Doesn't mean for some, maybe you'll do it for a little time. And for
Yeah.
some, maybe you'll do it for a lifetime. But you have to do what works for you. You have
Yeah.
to do, and I think that spirituality and relationship with God and a relationship with a healthy faith-based community,
Yeah.
hear me when I say healthy, because
Yeah.
not all faith-based communities are healthy.
Mm.
And so you have to make sure you get a healthy faith-based community. I think that that helps also. And so when I
Yes.
found people that had experienced things that I had went through in my community and we can talk about it and we can share it, that also helped me.
Yeah.
And so that's how therapy helped me. It gave me
Mm.
freedom. Wow. It opened up my understanding to the cognitive things that I didn't understand. Because we'll spiritualize everything.
Yes.
But it helped me to understand. We'll demonize everything. And some of this it's not a demon.
Yeah.
It's not a demon, it's pain. It's not a
Yeah.
demon, it's disappointment. It's not a demon, it's unforgiveness. It's
Mm.
not a demon. You just don't know how to deal with that pain that's within inside of you. It's not a demon, it's wrong belief sets in your mind. And your mind has to get new information to be transformed, new
Yeah.
understanding. And so I had to learn those things. The therapy gave me that space. So
Wow.
I'm thankful for the balance. I'm thankful for the
Yeah.
balance.
Mm.
And then it made me no longer demonize people.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah,
That's
because I
good.
demonized my husband. I demonized my children.
Wow.
It helped me to see, ooh, I had to unlearn and relearn.
Mm.
Yeah. So
That's
we there
so
now.
good.
Here we are. Still unlearning and relearning,
Yes.
but it's good and it's well. It's at a different level, you know.
Yeah.
So, but it's amazing, Carissa, how I think we understand now because we've gotten the education and the knowledge and we've been taught and we're going through our processes.
Yeah.
But the generations before us, it's amazing how they didn't understand how actions impact children and
Yes.
how a child can spend the rest of their life fighting to heal, to rebuild, to be restored from the pain of parenting,
Yes.
the pain of the adults around them, the actions. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? It makes me so much more cautious now,
Yeah.
and how I handle people and especially young people. You
Yeah.
said something
For
I want to
sure.
back up real quick about our males. And two things stood out to me. Remember that males are told from birth, probably from the age they could cry, you better stop all that crying like a girl. You
Yes.
better not cry. I'm going to go to your body. You better stop acting like a little punk, a little sissy. They are
Mm.
told that from youth. So it's embedded in there. I can't complain. I can't cry. I can't say that it's an indication I can't. This is instilled in them from
Wow.
youth, from kids, from babies. And this is why mothers and fathers have to be careful what they're saying to their children, because you're conditioning your young son right there not to have emotions. And
Mm.
that when he does have emotions, he beat himself up, which is why they would have rather suffer in silence. I went through this with my husband the other day. It was something that he didn't like that I was doing, but he didn't want to say it because he didn't want to look like a nag.
Mm.
Why? Because men are taught they can't nag. And
Yes.
so I had to apologize even for my part in making him and saying things that may have triggered that in him.
Yes.
Not hearing and validating your feelings to make you feel like you bother me so much when you say that. And so
Mm.
now you feel it's triggering something. He has to deal with that. But I could empathize and recognize why, here we go, empathy, why he's that way.
Yeah.
You was told your whole life, you better not be nagging. You better be a little punk, keep on crying for, or you keep on, you know. So now I can understand. I get it. So let me, as your wife, me help heal you and tell you that forgive me too for saying that. Because we, even as women, as wives, we'll tell our husbands, yo, I can't, when you keep on thinking like a woman, dang, always, you know, and
Woo.
then it's, you know, and so that, and then another thing, men are the most underinsured species, Black men. For some reason, insurance, medical insurance, going to the doctors, nonetheless, the therapist, insurance is an issue. So instead of them paying to go see a therapist, they're like, I ain't paying, I ain't got no money. It's not a priority.
Yes.
Our young men have to be taught about self-care and insurance more. It has
Wow.
to be embedded in them how to take care of their bodies. The same way they will take their fancy cars to
Mm.
get oil changes into the shop. It's the same way you have to take your mind and your body to get cared for. And so
Wow.
that's another issue. They don't be having insurance to even go and do
Yes.
this. And therapy is not, now it's becoming more affordable. But for years, it's been,
It was
I know for
expensive.
my therapist, she doesn't take my insurance, so it's an out-of-pocket expense. My
Mm.
Christian counselor didn't take insurance, so that's an out-of-pocket expense. But I
Yeah.
had to love myself enough to say, "You know what? I need this, so Imma sacrifice." Men
Yes.
have to get into that same mindset. It is
Yeah.
expensive, but it's worth it, and they
Yeah.
just don't have, some of them, that level of self-love and thinking that it's a priority. So I
Yeah.
wanted to add that.
Mm. That is so good and so true. Wow. I'm so glad that you pinpointed that part because that is so important. And I actually mentioned that because I know when I started with a Christian counselor with OJL,
Mhm,
she didn't accept insurance. So I paid out of pocket. And
mhm.
for most of my therapists after that, I was blessed enough that my job did cover it through
Yeah,
our
yeah.
employee assistance program, and I had a minimal copay.
Mhm,
And but some people aren't as fortunate to have that.
mhm,
And so you do get that, most people may be struggling to pay bills, to get groceries, to just sustain daily living necessities. And therapy is something that's so far from the mind, right? Is
mhm,
something that's just on the back burner because where can I get that? I'm struggling to maintain what I need on a daily, but I do think that, and this is where I think what Westmore is doing is so important. And I think that more government
mhm,
organizations and other may hopefully private companies, therapists at that will maybe join and partner with government organizations that can bring some sort of programs to underserved
mhm,
communities,
mhm,
especially that
mhm.
are struggling with mental illness and depravities. I think that it's important because if we want a thriving society, that's one of the first things that have to be addressed. Right? We have so many things that need to be addressed, but if your people aren't in a healthy mental state or capacity where they are actually able to go out and get work and go out and be thriving members of society, how can your society ever grow and boom? You have to take
Yeah,
care of your people.
yeah,
So even
yeah.
from our homeless, many of them, I was telling my daughter this the other day, we were having a conversation that there are some people and sometimes more than people think that they aren't homeless because they're addicted or they fell in drugs or
Yeah.
fell into some sort of situation where their money just disappeared or they were at fault for it.
Yeah,
Some of
yeah,
them are struggling mentally, some of
yes.
them are physically ill,
Mhm,
but for those who are, they don't have the necessities that is needed or required in order to address their illnesses or ailments that will help them become productive members of society. Some of them may not be on Social Security. Some of them may not have the cognitive ability to fill out the paperwork that they need,
yes.
Medicaid or Social
Jesus,
Security or
yes. SNAP benefits or whatever it may be. So I think that part is something that we also need to pay close attention to and also be sensitive to
Mhm.
for our young men, because I think it was under Barack Obama that allowed young adults to stay on their parents' health plan until about 26, but after
Mhm.
that, they're on their own. And
Yeah.
then is
Yeah.
that even a priority for them? So we
Yeah.
have to be talking to our young people about the
Mhm.
importance of maintaining health insurance and life insurance and, all of
Yes,
these
that's
types of insurances and things that are needed and required, or not really required, but they're necessary parts of life that you should have as an adult. And so many of us miss those conversations. I know for me, I didn't get that conversation. So I had to learn about making sure I had life insurance by the time I was a mother. My daughter was 2, and one of my girlfriends had sent her agent. Her agent was asking for other people that may be interested, and she gave her my name. And that's how I became acquainted with life insurance and getting my child life insurance and making sure I had life insurance and having health insurance through my job. All of those things that we really miss that are also important to, again, this overcoming generational trauma, because that is too,
yeah.
like, that's a
Yeah.
part of it. When you don't know these things, when you miss your parents miss having these critical conversations, because
Wow.
let me tell you, and I
Wow.
hate making this comparison, but our Caucasian brothers and sisters, their parents are very much having these conversations with them. They are very much aware at young ages the life insurance policies that their parents may have on them, other types of insurances that they should have when they leave the house or when they're in college or whatever it may be. So we need to get on the ball. Other
Yes.
communities that have been underserved for so long, African American communities, Hispanic and Latina communities, Asian communities too. There, with the Caucasians, they have those conversations with their kids, but some of them too that fall into those categories of underserved communities. We need to start having these conversations with our young people so
Wow.
that we don't pass that generational trauma and generational debt onto them.
Mm.
That's also a part of that trauma. When our kids got to carry out debt because we weren't
Yes.
responsible enough,
Yep.
that's a trauma.
Yes, it
That's a
is.
part of that
It is.
generational trauma that we put, that burden, extra burden we put onto our kids,
Mhm.
that we should have taken care of or had sense enough or been responsible enough to take care of so that they don't have to.
Wow.
So that is important and so necessary. And I'm glad
Yeah.
that you brought that up, because that really definitely needs to be heard by our young people, and more in-depth conversation about that needs to happen. So we're coming to a close here. I just want to say to you all, our listeners, that if you're listening right now and realizing you've been repeating patterns, pause and give yourself grace.
Yeah.
Awareness isn't punishment, it's power. And so just know that becoming aware of your patterns, just like Shaquita just gave the example, with her husband, becoming aware of that doesn't mean that he's weak. It's not punishment. No,
Mhm.
it's power, because if he know about it, then guess what? It can be addressed and it can be
Yes.
healed. He can
Yeah.
overcome that. So definitely take note of that. We're moving into our closing portion of this segment. And before we end today, I just want to leave you with this thought. You might have come from broken love, but you are not destined to repeat it. You
Wow.
are allowed to redefine what love looks like for you and your family or your children. And it can start with you. Make sure it starts with you, because when you're healing and you're becoming whole, that is a benefit that you pass on to your children, become the beneficiary of that. And it's a
Yeah.
good thing for them. And so, Shaquita, I just want to ask, do you have any hopeful remarks that you want to leave the audience with before we close out?
Yeah, I wanna say that it's never too late.
Yeah.
It's never too late to get your healing. It's never too late to start your healing journey.
If you recognize that you are in a wounded space, that you are in a broken place, that you need to do some things differently. I want to say, I don't care how old you are, where you are in life, how much you have or don't have. Don't allow yourself to sit and suffer. Don't even allow yourself to stay broken and in pain. I heard a quote, and I've seen it often, and it says that your brokenness may not be your fault, but your healing is your responsibility. It's your time. You can heal now. Go after your healing. You can be whole now. Go after your wholeness. Pursue it with all your heart.
Yes.
Start it by learning to love yourself, but first allowing God to love you. Connect with people who can help you on your healing journey. If you have to find new associates, if you have to find new friends, do what you have to. If you have to disconnect from those things that have kept you wounded, broken, and in pain, do it now. Don't delay your healing. The sooner you get in your process, the better you're going to feel. I want to tell you that there is hope. There is a greater level of joy for you if you will step into your healing journey. Don't delay. Cry if you have to. Do whatever you got to do, but pick up your phone. Find yourself a good therapist. Find yourself a good church home. Also, spiritual leaders to help you and go forth. You can live again. Many of us are dying in pain, dying from trauma, pushing it under the rug, living unhappy. There is a joy and a happiness that's out there for you, and you can live life again. You, as Carissa said, can redefine not just love and what it looks like for you. You can redefine your entire life.
Yeah.
You can redefine the canvas can be wiped clean and you can start again and you can paint it how you want to paint it. But yes, life will serve you lemons. But we know this, we can make lemonade. You can work that hand that you have been given. What it hurt was meant to hurt you, you can turn it into purpose. I sat here and I said it. Carissa sat here and she said it. All the things that we have been through and that we experienced, from domestic violence to abandonment, from friendship betrayal, from marital betrayal, from living in poverty, from living in lack, all of that, from verbal abuse, having to build from that and see a whole person come forth. And now he takes that very pain. I take that very pain, all of those things that I walked through, and I use it for purpose to help somebody else. And Carissa is using it for purpose to help somebody else, to bring other women to the knowledge and understanding that you don't have to stay where you are. Where you are now is not where you will finish. So go after it with all, like your life depends on it, because it does. It does. It does. So go after the resources, go after the tools, and remove shame. Shame will keep you bound. Remove shame. Don't be afraid of judgment or the opinions of people. Go after what you need, like your life depends on it, because it does. Turn it over to you, Brett.
Absolutely. Wow. What a powerful and hopeful close.
Well,
So I just want to thank you for tuning in to Where is the Love. And I hope that this episode hit home. I hope you share it with someone who's healing from their past two or generational traumas or love deficits. The next time we're tackling the myth of the strong Black woman and what it really means to receive love without guilt. We touched on it today, but next week we'll go more in depth about it because I think it's necessary and it needs to be talked about.
yeah.
We aren't just strong Black women. We aren't just strong women. We're women and we are in need of love. We aren't just the givers of love or the bearers of life. We need the reciprocation of love too. So we're going to talk about it. So until next time, keep choosing love one day at a time.